who was not able to join us today to review if they need it. It'll take a second to start the recording. It's still waiting. There we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that just joined us or those watching this video, I ask that you open up your Google Classroom and have your I Believe revised essay instructions open and ready to kind of follow along with what we're going to do in class today. So before we do that, a quick review of our expectations for everybody. Remember that we are going to be polite, ask questions in the chat first. Please say excuse me when you're interrupting to ask a question with the mic. During class discussions or question and answer sessions, you can use the chat or unmute to respond to questions freely. Please don't use language that makes anybody else feel less valued or important, and be an active participant in any activities. All right, with that being said, it is time for me to give you your confusion of the week. I feel like every week we are given something that confuses us. This week it is the change in expectations regarding attendance. So please note that your teachers each can have different expectations for collecting attendance. What we've been doing in English has been working for us, especially on days like today where some of us are having probably a lot of technical issues and things like that, and maybe not able to join the meet the right way. So we're going to follow what we've been doing for the year. Ms. Narduzzi and I are in the class, the Google Meet during our asynchronous times, which was it first through third periods, and then first through third, and then fifth through seventh every single day. So you can come to us during those periods for any kind of help. And we're going to continue posting our attendance forms so that you can complete those to get credit for coming to class during your independent work times. And then that way, if you choose to do your independent work time in a period that is not necessarily a second period, it still counts. Even if it's just a check-in for the day. All right. So that's my gif about being confused, because he's like, what do you mean folding the cheese? It says folding the cheese, damn it. Okay. So our agenda for today is we're going to go over the I Believe revised essay. I'm going to show you how to add your original essay piece to your Dropbox on Google Classroom. I will clarify for a few people who are like, what is a Dropbox? What I mean when I say that. And then we're going to talk about the expectations for your revision essay. And I'm going to go over a little bit of the differences between the previous essay expectations and the new essay expectations, and do a quick preview of tomorrow's activities. All right. So looks like we're picking up a few more people here. So, all right. Hopefully everybody's ready to go down this little rabbit hole with me. What we're going to do is we're going to go to, okay, what is it? I'm not on my thing the right way. Okay. It's like, where did my tabs go? We are going to go down the little rabbit hole now and go into Google Classroom. Okay. Let me close that particular thing. So on Google Classroom, you'll see that you don't actually have this piece there. You should be looking for the I Believe essay of revised. It's supposed to be a little hand holding a pencil there as if you're writing. And it should be under your week 3, quarter 2 class recordings, which will have our recording from Monday on it. right? Yeah. All right, so when I click on that, I can start to read the instructions, but what I want to do is make sure I click on this thing here that says view assignment. When I click on that, that takes me into this screen where I can attach work and then turn it in. This is what is in the magical world of online teaching, referred to as a Dropbox. It's basically called that because, like, if I were to set up a box in the classroom for you to drop off your work, I would refer to that as a Dropbox as well. Sorry, don't mean to clear my throat every 5 seconds at you guys. So with that being said, that's what I'm going to be, I refer to as a Dropbox. So anytime I tell you to, turn it into the Dropbox, this is what I'm talking about. You need to find that particular assignment, open it up where it says view assignment. That's what this is. Okay. It's basically an assignment Dropbox. All right. So a few key things to point out here. This assignment is worth a grand total of 100 points. You'll see down here that there's a rubric and it says it's out 24 points. That means that the 100 points is actually calculated based on your percentage of whatever your points out of 24 comes to. So if you get a 24 out of 24, then you got 100%. All right, so that's the first thing to point out. The second thing I'm going to point out to you is that in our grade book, we will have approximately, let's see, 2, 4, about 120, maybe 130 points already collected for the quarter when this assignment comes due on the 24th, okay? That means if you don't have it turned in and I sit down on the 27th, which is Black Friday, while everybody else is out shopping and I'm sitting here sipping my hot cocoa with my extra marshmallows, feeling extra devious, and watching my favorite Christmas movie of all time. What's that? I didn't quite hear what you said. Are we having microphone issues? All right. So when I'm feeling devious and watching The Grinch next Friday, and I start putting in missings for people, or just flat out zeros because you haven't turned in the assignment, it's not going to look really good, and some people are probably going to have parents who get upset with them because even if they had 100% beforehand, they're going to drop down below passing. So my suggestion is, if you want to have an enjoyable Thanksgiving week, that you do your very best to get this turned in on time. It really is not a huge thing. It's not a brand new writing assignment. You're basically taking an old one and making sure that it still meets these requirements and making some edits and changes to polish it up and improve it. All right. So even if you got 100% previously, we are using a brand new rubric and grading you on different criteria this time. So that means that your grade may change. All right. So the first thing I need to show you how to do is to add the assignment to this Dropbox. Okay. You'll see already attached is actually the checklist that you're supposed to use, as well as the rubric. All right. And I've written out here for you the 4-step plan for how to attach this, but I want to go through it with you. So the first thing you're going to need to do is click on this button that says add or create. All right. And you should be doing this as we are going along. So is there anybody who needs more time while we do this step? If you are somebody who's watching this recording, now would be a good time to pause and go pull things up if you did not do it. I'm going to be like that teacher on TikTok. I said pause here. No, seriously, pause here. Why didn't you pause? So is there anybody who needs more time? If you are ready to move on, give me a thumbs up, which is a number 1. If you need more time and we want to stop, put up all 5 fingers, which is like a number 5. That tells me it's time to stop. I don't know what 1-9 means from the last class, but okay. So if you're ready to move forward, give me a number 1. So Quinn is ready. Ariana and Elizabeth are ready. Anybody else? Gabe, Deja, Ryan, today, Hannah. All right, awesome. Everybody's ready. So we are now going to click on the fancy little Google Drive button. For people like me who grew up in the middle of nowhere and are used to Amish people coming to go shopping near you, we call that the caution, you're behind a tractor sign. All right, so when we click on it, it's automatically going to pop up a new window and show us our drive. So there's a couple different buttons up here that we could go searching for things, but we're not going to use those. We're going to use this thing up here that says search in drive. And you're going to put in a keyword. The keyword we're going to use is I believe, which is what you should have entitled the essay. If you didn't, you might need to put in a keyword that you used in there. So like if you said, I believe in karma, you might want to type in karma, because chances are very few of your other assignments have the word karma in them. All right. So I'm going to type in I believe, and then I'm going to hit enter. And every assignment that is in Google Drive that has either I believe or in the title or somewhere in the document is going to pop up. So if I want to, so you'll see there's like about 50 different things in here for this particular student. So if I wanted to narrow that down a little bit further to just things that were for English 4, I might include one of my teacher's last names. So I'm going to put in Kales because, no offense, Miss Arduzzi, but it's the shorter of the two. And now I have at least 2 items here that include the phrase I believe in my teacher's last name. You're going to be looking for the one that has your essay on it. If you don't see an essay, one of 2 things is going on here. Either A, which is very likely in many cases, that you did not do the initial assignment, which means you're going to have to start from scratch, which is why I always tell people you need to make sure that you're staying up on assignments, because sometimes they can come back to haunt you. Or B, you did not use the phrase I believe in your essay. So you might need to use a different keyword in order to search for that. Other keywords could be things like English 4, essay, things like that. All right. So let's say that I have identified, let's say, we're going to go back because I know where her essay is. It's buried in a weird place. All right. So let's say that I'm going to pick one of these things that I know is not belonging to her. Let's say that you turned in your work late, or you left it on the thing and you keep clicking the return button, and you get this little red icon that pops up that says, could not attach file, attach a file that you do own. This means that you have turned in this particular piece to a teacher and they have not returned it to you. So whenever we return assignments, that's what we're doing, is we're actually saying, okay, I have taken this, it was in my possession, it's graded, now I'm going to send it back to you so that it is now your piece of property again, just like if we were to pass back papers in the classroom. So in this case, the student may have attached a file that they have, but has been turned in. So I'm going to dismiss that. So what they're going to need to do is let the teacher know that it's been turned in, or you're going to need to make a copy of it in your drive. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach her real essay here. So we're going to come in here and hit insert. Oop. That one's already, oh, that's not the one I wanted. That's why. I was just grabbing anything in there. I have to put my keyword in there. There. All right, so when I insert a document, you'll see that it pops up underneath the one that's already been attached for you guys, okay? I'm actually going to take off what they have on here. All right, the one that I've already attached for you is actually the checklist that you're supposed to be using to go over your essay and the rubric for the assignment. So I'm going to pull up the rubric because that's how the essay is being graded. And a lot of people are like, but I already wrote this essay and I already got a grade on this essay, so I'm done, right? Not quite. So I'm going to pull this up for you guys. And now I'm going to pull up our previous one. I'm actually going to change my sharing permissions here. Let me turn off the presentation. I'm going to, so I can put these side by side. So let me redo this. All right, so I'm going to share screen 2 with you guys. All right. Because now I will be able to pop this out here real quick. This is the original rubric that we used for the assignment. I'm going to squish this down a little. All right, I'm going to put that over here on the right side because typically we read, or left side rather, we read left to right. So that was our first one. Our current one, let me squish this for us so you can see them side by side, may look at first glance similar. I may have to do a little bit more squishing here. There we go. Okay. Try not to make it expand. All right. So although they may start off looking a little similar, you'll notice they are actually quite different. So the first one starts with thesis statement and then goes on to transitional phrases and strategies and then organization of ideas. Those are the things that you were graded on the first time that we did this. This time we're looking at a new set of criteria. So we're going to be looking that you used proper MLA format, and spoiler alert, this is going to be the last assignment that we use, or most likely the last assignment that we use MLA format on. We're going to be teaching you guys in semester 2 how to use APA format, which is when you guys go to college, it's going to be the format that is used by any teacher that you have outside of the English department. We'll put it that way. Right? Like, is anybody here into journalism or wanting to go study journalism? I don't think we had anyone who said they wanted journalism. Journalism students typically use something called Chicago style. But we're going to look at APA style because that's what, and most of your other teachers, like art teachers and history teachers and art history teachers and social studies type topics like the social sciences, like anthropology and sociology and psychology, all of the ologies, biology, physics, all of those, that anytime you're writing a paper for them are going to typically want APA style. So we're going to teach you guys that in semester 2. But for right now, I just want to make sure that you learned all of the MLA stuff previously, and this is also a test of your attention to detail for that particular category. So it lists off here everything that you need to include, including the heading, the font size, the way it should be aligned, the fact that it's double spaced, how the heading should be put in, the paragraphs being indented without spaces between the paragraphs. And only the essay paragraphs are actually double spaced. Your heading should not be double spaced. Okay. Then it moves on to looking at a hook or clickbait, your intro paragraph, your closing paragraph, and your closing paragraph here should be mirrored from your intro paragraph setup. An inclusion of sensory and details and figurative language, and then a grammar report. And you'll see here that the requirement for a grammar report says that we're going to use a tool called Pro Writing Aid. And that's what we're going to actually go over on Friday. So I will show you guys how to start running those reports on Friday. In fact, that's going to be your goal for Friday, is that you have a starting report and an ending report. All right. And let's see. Includes an and like your score for this, for your grammar part, is actually going to be based off the fact of what your overall score is on that grammar report. So we'll talk about how to make sure that you get the best possible score on that. Okay. This is a work smarter, not harder assignment, really. So you'll see there are quite a few differences between this rubric and the previous one. So although you have everything written for it, you may need to go in and add a little bit with the sensory details and figurative language. You may have to fix your introduction and your conclusion. But the idea is that you're taking the time to reread this assignment, look at it with kind of fresh eyes. That's why there's a month between the initial one and this one. And you're taking the time to really examine it and go in and polish it up and make it better. Okay. So any questions about the rubric before I go in and actually show you examples of what I mean by the structure of your intro and your conclusion? All right, so nobody's screaming that they need help. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this just in case you guys decide you need it. Enjoy the pictures of my dog. All right, Tracy, what do you need help with?
I said I might need help. I don't know. I got to try it first.
Okay. Well, when you get to that, remember that Mr. Narduzzi and I are available during all of our independent learning periods for you to come in for help, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So enjoy the pictures of my daughter from her senior year. That was last school year. So she's in the same boat you guys are in, with things not exactly going the way that she had planned. All right, so I'm actually going to change the view of this a little bit. So right now it's at 100%. I'm going to change it to, I think, 150 so that it's nice and big. And we can talk about that intro and intro paragraph structure and mirrored closing paragraph. So that is these two rows. Oops, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So I'm going to actually highlight these and change the color for you guys so that it pops out a little bit better. I guess we'll use light yellow so it's kind of popping there. And I'm looking at my screen. It's not very big, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Let's see if 200 is too big. I think that's okay. All right. So that should be hopefully readable on your end. So when we talk about the introductory paragraph mirror format here, what we're really doing is we're trying to set up a pattern. Human brains love patterns. So much so that these random little things that we have in here are actually in patterns. When you're reading, your brain is actually looking at patterns. It's looking for those patterns of, if you actually notice here, a collection of consonants and vowels. Okay, every real word has vowels in it. that kind of thing. If I put a random selection of icons together or images together, for example, um, let's see if I can do this now in an easy way. If I put like a little period here and a little space there and a period there, um, and then a couple dashes there, what do you see? What does this pattern make you think of? I'm trying not to be incredibly obvious. I could be super obvious though. Turn him sideways. Yeah, Ariana points out it looks like an emoji. It looks like a face. Our brains are programmed to look for faces and things. We're looking for that pattern of two eyes and some sort of nose or mouth. Okay. We see it all over the place when you look at a light outlet or you're looking at the pattern in the ceiling or on the tiles of a floor or wall. Oftentimes you'll think that you see the outline of a face because your brain is programmed to look for faces. This probably, it depends on scientists. Some scientists say that it's a throwback to like ancient people who had to be worried that like, you know, the territorial Neanderthal was going to jump out of the woods and like kill your entire family. So you were looking for that face. But other scientists are like, no, it goes back to the fact that when you're a baby, the first thing that you really see are faces because your eyesight's not very good. So but when you're being fed by your mother or father, their face is like right there. And that's the first thing you really see and focus on are faces. So it doesn't matter which one of these is correct. The commonality here is that, you know, as humans, we all are programmed to look for those patterns, those faces. And we like patterns. Patterns make us feel safe. They make us feel comfortable. And that's why you'll notice a lot of stories follow certain patterns. Those are called archetypes. And in this case, we're going to be trying to use this pattern where you have an introductory paragraph that starts off with a hook, all right, or what I like to call clickbait. All right, it's going to be that one sentence that grabs everybody and makes us go, ooh, that sounds interesting. I want to keep reading this. You're going to have something that connects your hook to your thesis because your thesis statement should be the final sentence of your first paragraph, okay? So you're going to have your hook, that attention grabber, that clickbait that gets them interested. You're going to make some sort of connection between that and your thesis statement, whether it is giving some context for whatever it is you used as your hook, or giving some background information. It's what they refer to as a bridge. You're bridging the gap between your hook and your thesis, okay? So think of it this way. I pulled up, you'll notice I have this extra tab up here that has Channel 3 News on there. I picked them because I know that they have what I was looking for on here. And no, it's not that I'm particularly excited about Channel 3 News, but rather that I know at the bottom of Channel 3, they have things like this. Like, oh dear, the Queen made an emotional admission about baby Archie. So this headline here, along with this picture of the youngest royal baby in the British royal family, is designed to get me to do what? Exactly. Ryan says to click on it. And you'll actually see down here, it's from a website called Parenting Factor, and it's sponsored. So they have actually paid to put this story there. If I click on this, what's going to happen is I'm not going to get my answer right away. I'm not going to know what it is that she has to say about Meghan and Harry's son at all. But you'll notice there's lots and lots and lots of advertisements all over this page. That's basically what this story was designed to do. It was designed to get me to come to this website so that I could see the orbits, the Highlands cough and cold relief, apparently something about bad posture, some store called Cole Han or Han. All of these things are on here because that's what they really wanted me to see. They wanted me to see the Amazon Prime advertisement, and that's why they keep switching over and flickering. And there's very actually little of this story here. In fact, if I wanted to read this story, I'm going to show you this little thing up here. I have to click the little next button at the bottom, I think, somewhere in this garbage, in order to get to it. And then up here in this thing, you see how it's got like a long blah, 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 and then the number 2 in it. Just to show you how many pages it takes to get through one of these stories, if I change that to 32, I still haven't gotten to the answer, but it's still the same story. So I will have gone through 32 pages of advertisements and still not gotten the answer to what it is that the queen has to say about this baby. But I will have seen Carter's and something called Research Together with, I don't know, something about tissues, other stories that are designed to get me to go down another hole, you know. So the whole point of that is not necessarily to inform me, but to try and sell me stuff. Okay. And I know that this site has those stories attached at the bottom, so that's why I pulled it up. But that headline there, that little starter there, that first sentence, the queen made an emotional admission about Archie. That was designed to grab my attention and get me to want to read the story. Okay. If that didn't entice me, they gave me some other options here. Amazon price increases. Now what? Okay. Or man who predicted 2020 crash says now is the time. The time for what? Is it the time to buy, to time to sell, the time to sit back and watch Netflix? I don't know. I'd have to read the article, right? So that's what clickbait is. That's what I want to kind of create with my hook. I want to get the person excited about reading. All right. So there are a few things that you can do for this. You can include a quote that is related to your topic in some way, a statistic that might be related to your topic. So for example, if I'm writing about climate change, maybe I find a statistic that talks about in the past 10 years, the average temperature of our planet has gone up almost 2 degrees. Okay, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? But in the long run, it can be quite a bit. Okay. Hold on one second. All right. I apologize. I was interrupted by a phone call. So anyhow, where was I at? Okay, with our hook. So you're going to find something to engage your reader. Okay. So if I was using that statistic about climate change, my I believe statement would be, I believe in climate change. I might then in the essay explain what climate change is, why it's important to me, how the different things that I do to try and limit my personal effects on the climate, things like that. Like I recycle, I try not to drive my car as much as like just for fun. I don't let it sit and idle and warm up in the winter, those kind of things. And whatnot. And I might maybe even talk about how little things can add up over time. So then at the end of my essay, for my closing paragraph, I want to mirror that structure that I used in the intro paragraph to create that pattern. So I'm going to start my paragraph off with the thesis statement, okay? Because everything in a mirror is backwards. So I'm going to start with my thesis statement. I'm going to bridge the gap between my thesis statement and my reference back to my hook by providing that summary of what I talked about in my essay. And then I'm going to explain why I chose the hook I chose, basically, by referencing back to it. So if I use the statistic, maybe I'm going to say 2 degrees doesn't sound like a lot. But let's say that I live for 100 years. 2 degrees every 10 years in a lifespan of 100 years is 20 full degrees. And that's a big difference. Let's talk about like the middle of winter. It's 35 degrees outside, which is freezing. So it could be 35, or if the temperature keeps going up, it would be 25 degrees, which is not good. All right, because that would, if you guys don't know the positive things about winter, as much as I don't enjoy cold and things like that, winter does have a good side to it. It helps eliminate the number of certain unwanted insects like mosquitoes and fleas and things like that. Especially the kinds that like to spread disease like mosquitoes and fleas. So, yeah, so I'm going to refer back to that to create that pattern, okay? The next thing that you're going to want to make sure you include are pieces of figurative language or sensory details. So, for example, if I'm describing what the difference is, I might not, instead of just using statistics, which might bore my audience, I might describe what that is going to be like for somebody. Because I don't think anybody enjoys being sweaty and stinky and gross in the middle of the summer, right? But if our average temperature in the summer goes from being 80s to 100, we are all going to be sweaty, stinky, and gross. All right. And then finally, at the end, it talks about doing the grammar report. And again, that is what we're going to be working on Friday. All right. So any questions about what we're going to be doing for this particular assignment? Let me unhighlight her things. Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? All right. Well, I'm going to take your stun to silence to say that no, you don't have any further questions. All right. So with that being said, tomorrow we're going to be using this essay as part of a writing portfolio. And when you make a portfolio, one of the things that your goal is to do is to show the different steps that you take in the writing process. And that's part of why we are revising this, is we are showing that we can take a piece of work that we've started and completed and go back and make it better. Okay. So tomorrow you're going to be completing an ed puzzle. The ed puzzle is approximately 11 minutes. It's actually slightly less than 11 minutes long video. There are several little steps along the way. And it looks like a lot of questions, but really most of these questions, I'm going to click on one of them. Actually, we'll be asking you. All right, I know.
Welcome, everybody. Today we are going to
mute this
about setting up.
Because I don't like to hear my own voice. So the video will actually stop and ask you to complete certain steps along the way. Okay. So that's going to be what you need to be doing tomorrow. It's going to take you through all the steps that you need to complete in order to set up your writing portfolio, and get that started, because that's going to be an assignment that you're going to be working on throughout the school year. All right. Ideally, at the end of the year, you will have a writing portfolio that will look kind of similar to, I'm going to pull up a student sample from last year. Will look similar to, we're going to put up Enzo's here, because Enzo has a fun picture for you guys. You can see what his actual website looks like. There we go. And not just the editing side. So it'll look similar to this. It'll include a home page. It'll have links to the various samples of writing that we do. And it will have all of the different pieces and steps that are completed along the way for making that particular thing. All right. Including, but not limited to, an explanation video, a reflection video there. All right. So that is what we're going to be beginning tomorrow. And that's why you're going to be doing the Ed puzzle. So your grade for that will be based on the Ed puzzle. A lot of the questions on the Ed puzzle are going to be very similar. It's going to say, when you have completed this step, please select I'm ready to move forward. And you'll see, for example, the other option is to click seriously, follow this step. This is something that we will be using all year, and failure to do this will result in a lot of extra work and frustration for both of us. All right. So we have now successfully gone through all of the things on our agenda. Are there any questions or concerns or anything like that before I let you guys go for the morning? All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, then you are free to go. So Master is giving Dobby a muffin and setting you free. So hopefully you don't have any virtual nut allergies, because that's a virtual banana nut muffin.